We've got NFC power rankings and NFC trade deadline discussion. There's a lot to get into today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Krabs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making Locked On NFL Scouting your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Why did we both get the memo about black today?
Yeah,
we didn't talk about it, but
just saw that. Just glad we're on the same page, Kyle.
Are we mourning the modern Seattle Seahawks uniforms? Since now that Seattle's wearing their throwbacks this week, we should never see the modern ones ever again.
Yeah, and Houston or Tennessee's wearing their Oilers uniforms this week as well.
Feels wrong. It's the Houston city of Houston.
Yeah, but here's the
deal. Why SMU, right? And
they're
SMU came out and did like the same thing.
Yeah, they're so good though. Imagine just not wearing your best uniform. There's other teams out that are like this. The Bucs are also like that. They don't wear the best uniforms. There's a team in South Florida. Yeah.
Dolphins are wearing their white throwbacks this week against the Patriots.
Club dub, huh? With you, how you can't lose. You got to put those babies on for that Sunday night game in Philadelphia. That would have been a heck.
Correct. That was an all-time gaffe, but they don't wear them on the road. They only wear them at home.
I get it.
I don't get it.
Just wear them all the time, right? Like that's clearly your best iteration.
The problem is one of the first things the owner did when he bought the franchise was conduct a rebrand of like the logo and all that kind of stuff. So like it's part of his legacy of owning the team.
But I get it from the cartoon Dolphin. I get it. But like just go back to what you had. It's really good.
Right.
So
right. Oh well.
Kyle, you and I have had some text conversations in the past few days.
About
what? And we are renaming the NFL the National Fraud League, right? Because every team
is a fraud.
Every team is a fraud. And that includes, as we shift into this power rankings discussion for the NFC, before we get into the trade deadline conversation. I guess the latest on the fraud list is San Francisco 49ers, who lost two in a row to the Browns and the Justin Jefferson-less Vikings. Not number one anymore for me, Kyle Krabs.
They are not number one for me anymore either. They have tumbled out of that spot. They have held that spot for Joe Marino since week 2. Yeah. This is a monumental moment for you to move him out.
Yeah. Who'd I have to start the year? Do you know?
We both had Philly to start the year.
Oh,
and then week 2, I put Dallas at 1 and you put San Francisco at 1. Dallas lasted 2 weeks for me, and then I put San Francisco at 1. You've rode the 49ers this whole time. And now I have a feeling we're probably both back to exactly where we started and have the Philadelphia Eagles as number 1 in the NFC Conference.
It's their turn once again. We'll see. Right. We'll see. They got a bad loss on their resume to the Jets, right? So they're frauds as well.
And they were frauds until last week.
Yeah, frauds until last week, right?
Did the four-letter network spend any time talking about how the 49ers are frauds?
I don't know.
I just know there's a lot of energy on Monday talking about certain teams being frauds that were 5-2. So
yeah, frauds. The National Fraud League. Top 5. This is how I have it: Eagles 1, 49ers 2, courtesy of the Lions getting shellacked by the Ravens, so they go to 3. I have Dallas at 4 and Seattle at 5. That's my top 5.
Okay, so we have identical top 5s. I'll say that. The only thing I struggled with was the Detroit loss bad enough to warrant dropping them further? One game sample size. Sometimes the team just lays an egg, right? Like sometimes it just happens. It's okay. Yeah. Now you would love for it to not be against another team that's kind of in that conversation of jostling for hierarchy at the top of the league.
Yeah.
Because it kind of does taint your resume a little bit.
Just lose close, right? Like,
well, yeah, don't lose by 32.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Yeah.
And then there was that weird complex of they lost to Seattle, right?
Coming out with extra rest, coming out of a win over KC.
Right. So I'm sitting here looking at Dallas and Ford. It's like, man, if I drop Detroit below Dallas, then I potentially have to put them behind Seattle because Seattle won head-to-head too.
Yeah.
So I just said, we're not going to do that. We're just going to draw the line in the sand. Dallas not going to go in front of Detroit. So we have identical top fives.
6 through 10 for me. Atlanta at 6, the Rams at 7, the Vikings at 8, the Bucs at 9, and the Saints at 10.
You got to slow down. I'm clicking and dragging here.
Okay. Atlanta 6,
Los Angeles
7, Vikings 8.
Vikings at 8.
They're 3 and 4. What are we doing here?
They are.
They're blowing it. They're ruining everything, right? They had all these trade candidates.
Content, right. The content discussion today is ruined.
Right. Bucs at 9. We'll see there, and then the Saints at 10.
We'll see the Bucs tomorrow.
We will. I will for sure.
Okay, so we have the exact same teams in 6 through 10, just in a slightly different order. I also have Atlanta at 6. I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 7. I have the Los Angeles Rams at 8, the Minnesota Vikings at 9, and the New Orleans Saints at 10.
Just a little bit different on order.
Yeah, just some ambiguity there.
I think I gave Minnesota a lot of credit for beating San Francisco.
The San Francisco win.
Yeah, like that meant a lot to me. And like they took Philly to the ropes too. You know what I mean? Like Kirk Cousins is balling, bro. Like dude's throwing dots out there. And he didn't care that Justin Jefferson wasn't out there. He didn't care.
Happy for Kirk. Yeah, I think the thing that prevented me from putting Minnesota at 8, I mean, you also had the Rams in front of Minnesota. So we both had Los Angeles in front of Minnesota, but preventing them from going too much higher because I had the Rams at 8 was Minnesota with a win against San Francisco without Trent Williams and Debo. And how do you weigh that versus the Rams playing the 49ers close at full strength? Same record. I just said I think I like a little bit more from a big picture perspective what the Rams can look like going from here versus Minnesota. Although that division kind of makes Minnesota
right.
It took us about half the season. Took us half the season, but we're here.
What's the point differential?
The trendy underdog Minnesota.
The point differential 1 point so far cumulative on the season. My number 11 team is the Giants, and I want to spend I want to spend a second here. I want to spend a second here. In a world,
if it was Daniel Jones, they'd be 15.
You're right. In a national fraud league, right? In a national fraud league where we've seen in recent years, Sam Darnold as an opening day starter, as Jameis Winston. You see Marcus Mariota, all these guys. Ryan Tannehill continues to get chances to be starters. Tyrod Taylor can't get that again. Like, put some respect on Tyrod, whatever you want to say. He's one of the best 32 out there, right? Like, he just is. I'm saying he's a great quarterback. I think he's probably bottom 25%.
We don't have time to do the thing, but I would love to do the thing with
Come on, man. This guy, like, even when he played a couple games with the Chargers, pretty decent, right? Like, I don't know, man. I think he's been overlooked poorly throughout the last several years in this NFL landscape with certain guys who are getting chances and Tyrod's not. So I have the Giants at 11, Commanders at 12, Packers 13. I know that you're clicking and dragging, so I'll pause. Bears 14.
Giants at 11.
Commanders 12.
Commanders
Packers
12.
13.
Packers 13.
Bears 14. Arizona 15. Carolina Panthers 16.
Joe, what would you do if I told you our bottom 6 was exactly the same?
And you had a reaction to me having the Giants at 11.
Because I thought it was going to be hot.
Defense is waking up, man.
It's the fact that the defense has played the way that they have the last 2 weeks. And look, how many sacks did they have coming into the Washington game? I know, like, Sam Howell's getting sacked like nobody's business. Was sacked 6 times against
Sam Howell. Yeah,
he's been sacked 6 times against the Giants. I think that's more sacks than the Giants had all season coming into the game.
Yeah, there's not sniffing quarterbacks.
So it's kind of hard to compartmentalize how much of that value is with Washington's offensive line, which is disaster class. But New York defensively the last 2 weeks has really shown some spark. And Taylor does bring a different feel to the offense and a little bit more outside of structure and creativity. And the fact that they have a head-to-head win against Washington made it a no-brainer. This is a really sad state of affairs in the NFC. If we're being honest, probably after New Orleans.
Even the middle class is bad.
Maybe you want to include, yeah. I mean, your first team out of the playoffs for Joe is Minnesota, and the first team out of the playoffs for me is the Rams.
Talent devoid rosters, man. Like, just not good enough rosters.
Yeah, it's going to be equally competitive on both conferences for like those 3 wildcard berths, but for totally different reasons.
Yeah.
Which will make the trade deadline decisions that these teams have to make all that much more interesting, Joe.
Well, look, maybe you want to go to a game. You want to watch some of these teams play. You live in a market that has an NFL team. Check out Game Time. It is the fast and easy way to buy all the tickets for the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They have killer deals on last-minute tickets, all-in prices. I love that. You go to the app, you see a price, that's what you pay. They give you a view from your seat, so an image, so you know exactly what to expect when you get to the venue, and a best price guarantee. Simply put, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. The app is awesome. They have flash deals. Anytime I go in there, you'll see a flash deal on an event, and everything's super easy to navigate. They've kind of like perfected the ticket buying process. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
So let's talk buyers and sellers. We obviously know our number one team in the NFC is a buyer. They've already acquired Kevin Byard.
Ooh.
Yeah.
They were a buyer and Byard.
Buyer and acquired Byard.
Wow. Incredible. I think that's what's interesting about the NFC. When you look at the two teams that we have up top, the Eagles and the 49ers, right? 49ers season changed last year when they traded for Christian McCaffrey. The Eagles, A.J. Brown, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Kevin Byard now added to this mix. The Robert Quinn thing didn't work out, but teams that have been really active with trades seem to be doing good. I mean, obviously, the Rams won the friggin' Super Bowl based on their trade deadline moments, right? So this has been influential. Yeah, and who else did they trade for? Somebody else that year. I can't remember.
Well, they got Stafford, obviously, coming into the year.
Ramsey was part of that, but I thought they traded for somebody else too. But yeah, Von Miller was big for them. Odell Beckham Jr., that's the name. But they signed him. I think it's all running together. Yeah. So
Philadelphia, yes. Now, do they need to add more than Kevin Byard? Possibly not.
They're pretty set, man.
As long as they stay healthy.
Yeah.
San Francisco, not healthy right now.
Right.
But when they are healthy, I think that's the interesting thing about San Francisco is what would you want to add to that team?
Right tackle? Maybe.
And if you're adding to that system, you probably want to get somebody who with experience in that system to add midseason.
Yeah.
So I think Philadelphia already, of the top two teams, Philadelphia already addressed the most glaring, outstanding issue for either roster.
Well, and one thing I'll say about San Francisco, like Cleveland Farrell's giving them pretty solid snaps right now. And did they get Randy Gregory? Am I dreaming about that? That's another player that they've added to the mix.
Did somebody got Randy Gregory?
Pretty sure it was the Niners. So I thought kind of just making sure they had everything.
He got a sack against the Browns.
Yeah.
Already.
So.
Detroit.
Receiver. Marvin Jones.
Would love to see them in the receiver market.
Yep.
I'm going to repeat this. and I think this was a take that we had back in August or July, this is a team that should be in on DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, you have some speed with Jamison Williams. Your other receivers, it's wide open slate.
Yeah.
And if you can add another crafty route runner who could still win and win on the perimeter and free Amon-Ra to be as much in the slot as you want him in the slot and still have a vertical element to the passing game, and you got Sam Laporta who's giving you really good contributions, that to me would be a no-brainer.
Maybe a corner as well. I know they've had some injuries there. So
yeah. Dallas.
I think what are you doing here?
This team should be interested in buying. It's like, yeah, you have a need for another receiver, but you're already not using Brandon Cooks.
Right. So weird.
So is it a Brandon Cooks problem? Is it an offense problem? I'm inclined to think it's more of the latter.
Yeah.
So
linebacker,
I don't
maybe
a linebacker, perhaps. Seattle.
I think their D-line can use some help. They're not. I mean, their corners are good, but they're like bottom of the league in pass defense right now too.
Right.
So
Seattle's tough because I agree with you with the defensive line, but like they had this mass exodus of talent this offseason. Like they didn't like what they had. So offensively for them, I think they're pretty set. They got depth at the skill positions. They have a type on the offensive line that I don't know you're going to find a lot of guys that'll check the boxes that would make sense and be upgrades. So
being healthy on the O-line will be helpful for them. Yeah.
Atlanta. I have a galaxy brain one here.
All right.
Hold on. Let me go. Give me your thoughts, and I just want to make sure I don't want to speak out of turn on one thing.
Well, it's nice to see some stabilizing play from Desmond Ridder despite the fumbles last week, right? They fixed the interceptions. Now he's got a fumbling problem, which he had at Cincinnati. I feel like are you going to get a quarterback upgrade right now to like really go on a run, or is it just a matter of like just steadying and sticking the course there? I think for them, it's about getting a little bit more out of their playmakers, and defensively things have been pretty solid, and they've made a ton of adds to that defense. Maybe a little more depth on the D line on the interior, but did you find what you're looking for?
Yeah. If I were Atlanta and I continue to progress this season with the way that they have, having somebody who could potentially give you a jolt down the stretch at quarterback might be interesting.
Who's it going to be, Kyle?
Would you want to reunite Arthur Smith with Ryan Tannehill?
No.
Why not?
Because I've got the younger version of Ryan Tannehill.
You don't, because I've watched Ryan Tannehill in this offense not turn the ball over 1 billion times.
Is that what you're... Man, does that help them, though? Like, I don't know, man.
I don't know if it's for peanuts and an expiring contract to get you through this year with a veteran quarterback that at least can come in and have another veteran mind in the building. Tennessee's prepping for Will Levis to start. They're already selling. The money's close to being able to make it work. You'd only have to jiggle a few dollars around.
Here's I think your ceiling as a football team is you win the NFC South and you probably lose in the first round. Although you might draw the Rams or the Vikings or the Bucks, right? Like in that
and
home
Arthur
playoff
Smith,
game.
Ryan Tannehill is a 9-7 team and went to the conference championship game.
Oh man. All right. Well,
I'm not saying it's likely. I'm just saying, like, if I'm going to sit here in Galaxy Brain, like a really fun trade deadline move that would have a couple, what is it? The Kevin Bacon, whatever degrees of separation. There's like a couple degrees of separation with a move. That would be it for me.
Let us know in the YouTube comments if you're watching on YouTube.
Oh yeah. Light me on fire. Because I'm sure Falcons fans love that.
Give up a ham sandwich for Ryan Tannehill. Would you like that? All right, we're going to get into the players that would make sense to be moved here in the NFC. Stick with us, but these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. And folks, it's so easy to create a free job post over at LinkedIn Jobs. And then once you do, add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. And then simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Folks, you got to check out Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the funnest, most exciting, easiest way to play daily fantasy sports. I love this format. It's just you against the numbers. It's not you against thousands of other players, including the pros, including the Sharks. Here's what you do. You select 2 or more players, you pick more or less of their projected stats, and you place your entry. That is it. It doesn't take long. You can make an entry in under a minute, and then when you win, the withdrawals are super, super quick. I love watching all these sports right now. Love them even more when I have a Prize Picks entry going into the games because it just makes it that much more exciting. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
So where's our threshold for teams that should sell? I think Minnesota obviously was a popular team.
Yeah, and they got options too, right?
Yes.
Like with Jordan Hicks and
Danielle Hunter. KJ Osborne was kind of floated out there.
Yeah, maybe Harrison Phillips.
Maybe
Harrison Smith.
They had options.
Yeah, they had.
I don't know that it's going to go that way now.
Right. 3 and 4, you got to feel like you got a shot at the playoffs.
Right. In this conference, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they kind of had they had a tough stretch to get them started. So I don't think Minnesota.
What about them? Go ahead.
Even though the way that they conducted themselves this offseason told you they were realistic in knowing they were going to have to transition. Right.
Well, yes. I think you go right to the most obvious, right? The Carolina Panthers, the only winless team in the NFL, and they need draft capital, right? I think they got a slew of players, whether that's Donte Jackson at corner, Justin Houston. What's he going to really bring to that team at this point? Shai Tuttle at defensive tackle. Frankie Louvu's an expiring contract at linebacker. Do I dare say Brian Burns?
No.
You know what I mean? They should keep him. He should be part of the solution.
You have to get a crazy offer for Burns.
But maybe they do. Maybe they say, oh, you know what? We're a little bit away from being there. We can get a couple of first-round picks or something like that. That helps restore what we lost in Bryce for the Bryce Young trade. Think about it, right?
If you get an offer that's equal to what you've already turned down for Brian Burns, then I think you put it back on the table. Because you turned down a 3 and 2 once.
Man, it's going to – but to sit there and look at DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey and Brian Burns as players that you moved on from, oh, man, that's tough, right? Let's just be honest. That's tough.
That's digging an even bigger hole for yourself to climb out of down the stretch. Real quick, there's 0% chance Minnesota's selling because here's their schedule the rest of the way. Packers, Falcons, Saints, Broncos, Bears, Raiders.
They're going to the playoffs.
Bengals, Lions twice, and Packers again.
They're going to the playoffs.
They're not selling.
Vikings going to the playoffs.
Take it off the table. Now, if they'd have lost to San Francisco and then lost to Green Bay, then you say, okay, yep,
there'd be 2 and 6.
2 and 6.
Yeah, something like that. They're 3 and 4. So it'd be 2 and 6 if they lost those 2 games.
Yeah. So no, I think we take them off the table. That's probably your cutoff. So New York Giants.
Yeah. So are they going to be honest about it, right? Because they got players, expiring contracts, Leonard Williams and Adoree Jackson.
It was the big one. Yeah. And Adoree Jackson at corner if somebody gets really thirsty. Although we saw like William Jackson got no market last year on the trade deadline.
Yeah, well, difference though. Like Adoree Jackson's still playing reasonably good football.
Yeah.
William Jackson's fell off a cliff.
But William Jackson was in a horrible scheme fit.
Yeah.
Last year. So that's why the tape was bad. But
A'Shawn Robinson and Paris Campbell, other names that stand out to me a little bit for the Giants.
Okay, I like that. How about Washington? One of these defensive they can't pay everybody on the defensive line, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds like there have been some teams calling and knocking about either Chase Young, who's in the last year of his deal, or Montez Sweat.
Yep.
What do you think? What do you think that fetches? Second round pick?
Day 2 pick, yeah. How about Kendall Fuller, expiring contract at corner? You just drafted some young DBs.
Mm-hmm.
Antonio Gibson, they'd love to give him away, I'm sure.
Yep.
Curtis Samuel on offense, maybe. Somebody looking for a little chess piece. How about the Bears? Jaylon Johnson at corner. Darnell Mooney, Justin Jones at defensive tackle, maybe Yannick Ngakoue.
Oh, man, imagine Yannick signing that one-year deal and they get dealt at the deadline. Be the ultimate finesse.
Yeah. Cardinals, we got to get to the Cardinals, right? Budda Baker, Kelvin Beachum.
I think that was the thing that was interesting with Arizona. You acknowledge that they should sell, but they've almost sold themselves out of all of their assets that are desirable other than Beachum, because they have so many young guys up front, and Budda Baker.
Kaiser White at linebacker I would bring up as well.
That's because you're hungry for a linebacker.
You're damn right I am.
The only team we did not mention was Green Bay. Just real quickly here.
I don't know, man. If I'm them, I'm thinking about adding some veteran weapons, some veteran receivers to my mix.
Try to stabilize my quarterback evaluation while I have Jordan Love on this 2-year contract and figure out what I've got and what I don't.
Yeah, like how long are you going to sit there and rely on these hurt offensive linemen and inexperienced pass catchers and feel like you're giving your quarterback a real chance to show what he is? I mean, come on.
So, I think they're the team in that stratosphere, the only team in that stratosphere that I look at. I'm like, yeah, I don't know how much I would sell here because you got a lot of young guys and you're trying to build.
Give away defensive talent that should be part of, like, it doesn't feel like they're far away from kind of like going somewhere.
Right.
So,
they just need a little bit of an identity offensively. Yeah. And they don't have that right now. That is going to do it for us here on this episode of Locked On NFL Scouting. I'm Kyle Krabs. He is Joe Marino. We hope you guys enjoyed this discussion on the NFC conference landscape, the NFC conference trade deadline perspective, some players that we floated out there. Make sure you hit subscribe, come on back. You can find us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. But we are out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk to you all again tomorrow. Peace.